Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know
No,
things are crazy, so
no problem. No worries. I mean, I'm thankful for you even asking. Thank you.
yeah, no, I saw you on Good Morning America, and when I just immediately wanted to meet you. I have a cousin that's getting out of prison within the next week, and that you and I know that you employ people coming out and you give people a second
Yeah,
chance, and
absolutely.
I love that. I love that stuff. And I'm in the restaurant business too, and I know
Oh,
that yeah. So I work at a cafe, and I've worked in the restaurant business pretty much my whole life. And I know that with COVID, we're all kind of struggling. Now you have a place in Philly too, a second location in
two
Philly.
restaurants. Yeah. We have a total of three altogether. One is a juice bar. That's just not open, but we own that building, so
Uh-huh.
we'll reopen that one a little bit later. I'm actually in my first location right now. It's called Star Fusion
Hmm.
Restaurant. Well, now I just recently changed the name to Star Fusion Restaurant and Catering.
So you guys are both your restaurants are in Philly.
Yes.
That's awesome. All
Yeah,
right,
they're
cool.
both located in Philadelphia. Actually, in the neighborhoods that I grew up in. So, um, opening up in my own neighborhood was like a dream come true for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I'm
amazing.
definitely thankful.
Yeah, that so and I love when so the whole point of my show, so we'll get started. So the whole point of Long Shot is to interview. It's a feel good story essentially, right? And I love to interview people that are living in their purpose or going chasing a dream, and celebrating that process. And doing some research on you. You were working a corporate job. You were laid off,
Yep.
and then you were making food out of your house, to make ends
Yep.
meet, and selling that.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about that process.
Woo! So that's the journey that
Yeah,
actually started all of this. So I'll be
right.
happy to tell you about that. So I guess about 8, 9 years ago now, I lost my job. I worked for that company for over 8 years. And
Was that in the
before
food service industry, like
it
corporate food
was not,
service? Oh, okay.
it was not in food service at all. It was corporate. I was executive sales manager for a very high profile telecommunication company. I guess I don't want to say for
Sure, it's
whatever
fine.
purposes.
That's quite all
So
right.
I worked there for 8.5 years, and that was actually at the quote unquote at the time like a dream job for me because it took me into like the almost a six-figure mark. Whereas me, I didn't finish college, or to be honest, I didn't finish high school either. I got a GED, kind of like my last year of high school when I was kind of headed in that bad path.
Right.
Kicked out of high school, expelled,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like finding myself not really a troublemaker, but I hung around all the troublemakers. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
I
So,
Yeah, no, yeah.
growing up like that, watching my I guess watching how my environment was around me,
Hmm.
I kind of knew that that's not, although I'm from that environment, it wasn't like my journey was the environment. My journey was always destined to improve or fix anything around me. So to answer your question, how did the journey start back where like how did I start selling dinners in my house, and how did it even
Well, yeah, well, yeah. So you were laid off, but like, so now, I mean, are you forced into that position, or was this like the kind of like the seed? Like you're like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do, but I gotta start here.
so so let me just give you a quick background because I know you got
Sure.
it. All right, so I actually culinary is my passion. I dream it. I love it. Food is
Beautiful.
everything to me. Growing up, not being able to afford culinary school, although I did go into a culinary school, I wasn't able to finish because it required money, and unfortunately, I didn't
I
have a lot of that.
I hear you. I hear you.
I'm 43 now, so back when I was entering in like the culinary school phase, entering culinary school wasn't like it wasn't a degree how it is now. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a certification, a piece of paper,
Sure.
kind of like when I was going.
Yep.
So it was hard to get like financial aid for that. So
Right.
obviously dropping out of culinary school, entering into like the corporate world, was, I think it was a God's plan for anything, because working in the corporate world, it kind of taught me a lot of structure. It taught me like human resources, like how to deal with people. It taught me how to like overall like just kind of like working in that corporate field. It just taught me how to deal with the public, you know. So I guess that was like the school of the hard knocks, not
Mhm.
realizing that although following my culinary dreams wasn't number one, um working in corporate, it kind of structured my brain to run a business.
No,
So
absolutely. There's so many lessons and trainings that I took out of working in corporate America that apply to, because I within the last year I took a leap and tried and I'm starting my own business. And a lot of that
congratulations.
stuff, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And a lot of that stuff translates. A
Yes,
lot of like, I worked in a sales like you. I worked for a recruiting firm. So you're on the phone all day and you're getting hung up
yes,
on and you're,
yes,
and all that stuff translates because you have to make the cold call, you have to have
yes,
that thick skin. You have to call everybody,
yes,
from the CEO to the executive assistant, you know
everybody.
what I mean? So yeah, there's so
So
many skills that translate.
absolutely. So having that background like yourself, it actually structured my brain to kind of open up my own restaurant. So hence how it actually happened was kind of like a miracle, miraculous. But I guess now I'm learning that there's no mistakes in life. These
Absolutely.
things are happening on purpose for these reasons. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so when I got laid off or pretty much fired um, from that big telecommunication company, me not finishing my degree, I didn't know what I was going to do. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Sure.
Especially making like that much money. But what grounded me is I did have a passion for culinary. I mean, a passion for culinary. But
Hmm.
while working in corporate, I was always that go-to girl for the parties, or like I even sold soup before to raise money, gourmet soups in the office setting. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I was already like, they knew me as like the go-to lady for food needs,
You already had that
corporate,
skill.
in
Yeah.
the corporate environment. So one of my managers um at the time, she kind of like sparked my interest first when she mentioned that, hey, Darlene, there's a store across the street that's closing down, like where we used to get pizza. You know,
Right.
work in corporate America, you only got 30-minute break, you run out really
Yeah.
quick, get a
Grab a
slice of
quick
pizza,
bite,
something like
get
that.
back. Yeah.
So she's like, they're closing, you should really look into that. So I took it as a joke.
Right.
And I didn't look into it, but leaving the corporate job, getting laid off was like, how can I put it in words? Can you imagine? Imagine building yourself to a certain point, buying a certain house, buying a certain car, right? With
Mm-hmm.
no with nothing to back you up. Like
Mm-hmm.
no degree to back me up to get that kind of job again. Like nothing to back me up. That was super devastating. Not only I start being like 2 months behind on my mortgage after like losing my job. I was fighting for my life to keep my car. I only had like 4 or 5 payments left. Although the 4 or 5 payments left, like I didn't wasn't able to pay them anymore, like
Right.
on time. So everything was like falling apart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like before my eyes. And I just remember like centering myself and like praying and meditating and finding myself in a happy space when I was cooking, when I was creating, when I was cooking. So as I'm creating and as I'm cooking, now I'm teaching myself. Now I'm buying books on how to do something better. Like I'm getting super excited about culinary, not realizing that although my bills are due. So you know what I
Right.
mean? So um one of my close friends and my mom to be exact, they was pushing out my hand that you should sell some dinners, and me, because I guess I elevated myself, or I thought I elevated myself out the quote unquote hood.
Mm-hmm.
So losing, I thought I got out the hood. So
Right.
I when they told me I should sell dinners out my house, I thought they were crazy. I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I thought I was kind of like too good for it. So
Right.
it humbled the crap out of me.
Yeah, there's a level of humility when you get to that certain place that you have to walk into if you want to do anything moving forward.
Yes,
Agreed.
it humbled me to the point where, all right, let me give you a funny story. I don't know if
Okay.
you're going to use this, but let me give you a funny story.
I love it.
My mom told me, "Hey, Darlene, I'm not going to help you out with your mortgage anymore. You need to like really sell some dinners in your house. I don't know where you're gonna get the money from, but get on welfare." And I was
Hmm.
like, "I'm not getting on welfare. Getting on welfare."
I'm
So
with you. Somebody
um
suggested the same thing to me, and I was like,
I'm not doing that. So
yeah,
you know that change jar that you have,
yep,
the empty water, the water big old water bottle,
yeah. The Poland
that
Spring,
got
yeah.
really, 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 really low one day, and I was really hungry. And the only thing that was paid was my bills. Like my mom still was helping me. My
Hmm.
change jar was like down here. I didn't
Yep.
have a boyfriend at the time. I didn't have anything. I was just soaking in my own pain. And
Yeah.
the next day, I woke up and I drove my X3 BMW at the time to the welfare office and signed up for food stamps. It was temporarily. I knew it was going to be temporarily in my head, but it was a extremely humble feeling that I had when I arrived there, because when I arrived there, I was like, I can't believe I'm in, like, at this point where I was making all this money, almost six figures, and now I'm like in a welfare office,
Yep.
kind of like going backwards. Like I watched my mom on welfare. I've been through that, so I knew like me, I was never gonna ever get
Right.
food stamps because I was so embarrassed, like as a kid growing up, like watching that kind of stuff. So it was like not in my destiny. So when I had to do it, especially driving like my shiny car at the time,
Hmm.
um to do it, it kind of like it really smacked me in my face. But you know what was the funny part was when I got there, the lady was like, I was like, oh, this is my first time applying for welfare. She's like, oh no, it's not. You were here in 1992 with your mom. And it was like a kind of like a smack in my face, like, wow, wow. Like I felt like I was moving backwards in time. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. No.
So so
Absolutely.
So buying food for my house whole wind up me kind of like taking those dishes I was creating,
Right.
playing around with,
Yep.
transpiring them into like a menu. I didn't know I was doing it. The forces within was doing it. The
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something was doing it. I didn't. Something took over me. Had like a life of its own inside of
Right.
my heart and in my soul, and was kind of like this designing a restaurant. Like I knew I always been the kind of person who always was in a leadership role in job. Like I was fortunate enough to always get promoted no matter where I went. So I kind of knew I had that leadership skills. I just didn't know that I was going to be able to write out create a menu that made sense for like people to actually buy. But it got to the point where I was able to create a menu so well that my house was busy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I had like a line like
What were you
outside
making?
of my house. I used to live. What was I making, or where did I
Yeah.
live?
No, no. What were you making? What was your menu?
So actually, the you know what's funny? Facebook did a Facebook memory, and it came up 6 years ago of the memory that came up. So on that particular menu was all right. I used to do a 3-style menu. Like every week, I wanted to be different. One
Right.
week I was double O soul because I figured if I was going to create a catering company, because that was the goal. If I was going to
Right.
create a catering company, I wanted people to sample everything I can cook. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I'm a creator, so I can pretty much cook anything. So
Mm-hmm.
week one, I would do double O soul catering. Week two, I would do Welcome to the Caribbean, so that would be all Caribbean food. Week
Mm-hmm.
three, I would do modern American. So those three I would rotate every week, so people knew, hey, start doing a Caribbean week this week. Hey, start doing modern American this week. Hey, start doing soul food this week. So people knew. I kind of created that momentum of like I guess I kind of set. I don't know what it was, but it kind of created a week. It created like a momentum, and I was getting clients like that worked in hospitals, like like a office setting, a doctor's office. I was
Yeah.
getting clients. I did Verizon. I did like Comcast. I was pulling up with 20, 30 platters in my trunk. Um,
That's
kind of
beautiful.
like selling them in my house and outside of the trunk. So I was making so much money.
You get that little bit and you're like, this feels good. I can do this.
Yeah, it was unreal to me because it was more than my paycheck. And I thought that my fancy paycheck was good, but
I
you
know.
know, paycheck is cool, but when you make $4,000 a week in your house and it's like no overhead,
And
that's
you're
a
in love
lot.
with what you're doing.
And you're in love with it. That's like unbelievable. So
Yeah.
um it almost said a bad word, but I didn't. But it
All
hit the
right. You can
fan.
curse on here. That's
All
all
right,
right.
good.
That's
Well,
all
the
right.
shit hit the fan when one someone knocked on my door and I thought it was a customer just picking up food, and it was
Hmm.
actually like the health department and the police and everything, and it was like, hey, you can't do this, and I'm like, well, I didn't know.
You're making
I was
four
like, well,
grand a
how can I
week
do it
out
legally?
of
They
your
said, well,
house.
you got to go get serve safe.
Oh
I
man.
didn't know. So I lived in a nice area, like near 18th and Popular. So I don't know if you know anything about Philadelphia, but that's like
I don't.
where do you live? You live in New York or
I
something?
live in Jersey.
Do you know anything about New York City?
Yes.
All
Yep.
right. So I lived in like Central Park West
Damn.
in- of the Philly,
Okay.
quote unquote. So my neighbors are like doctors and lawyers and things of that nature. And they
Uh-huh.
see a whole bunch of people going in and out of my house.
Uh-huh. So they started to get a little worried about
They
what's
got a little
going on
worried. They
there.
was like, "What is this girl doing?" They probably
Yeah,
thought I was trafficking something
for
crazy.
sure.
So, the police got involved. The health department got involved. They pretty much said you can do it in your house, but you have to have certain equipment. And then
Yep.
they said you have to get like a commercial license. And then, so I when that happened again, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? So you want to know what else happened? My neighbor who owned a big building next to the a house that I owned,
Yeah.
she knocked on my door and said, "Hey, Darlene, I got to do some construction on your land. I really need you to move out for a little while. I'll pay for you to move out." I was like, "Well, I work from home. I can't do that." She's like, "Well, let me see what I can do." She called me back like 2 days later, found me a commercial kitchen, in like I swear to God, in like a homeless shelter or something like. It wasn't a homeless shelter. It was like one of those second chance shelters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like a
And
YMCA type of thing.
something like that.
Yeah.
But the owner of the place, she couldn't feed the people because she didn't have the license. And by this time, after I got kicked out of my own house, I got serve safe, I got license, I got anything I needed to do to sell food. This, she needed a serve safe. This is one of my chef that's here. She
Right.
needed she needed a serve safe to be like in her shelter before she could serve the people the homeless people or whatever they was. I hate to call them
Right.
homeless if they wasn't. But and I had that license, so she was like, oh, perfect. I don't have to get it. Can you just hold your license here? You can cook here for free. So I had a real commercial kitchen, and she had two places. Two
Wet.
places. So my,
That's
my
beautiful, man.
this
That's
my serve safe was at both places. I hired two dishwashers. I hired a delivery guy, and it's so funny. The delivery guy I hired was Second Chance. He was he didn't have any legs. His nickname is Wheels because he's in a wheelchair, but he drives. So I told him, he just did a post the other day. He's like, this lady gave me a job and I didn't have any legs. And she said, don't worry about that. The customer's gonna come to you. So I told all my customers, hey, I got a delivery driver, but you got to come to him. So they all did it. It worked out. It was like a business somehow. So that's how it kind of like grew
I mean,
into
for a
something.
lack of a better term, let's call that a God moment, right?
That was a God moment.
Man,
Yes.
that's all that stuff, all that path.
All
It's
it picked like
unbelievable.
this.
You thought it was like this big calamity, and all of a sudden things slowly but surely started to keep working out.
So and I could continue because it's more miraculous stuff.
Now
So
let's go.
this is so after that happened, then all right. So now I have the two places situated where
Yeah.
one place is kind of catering, one place I'm doing like a takeout kind of thing. Then one of my customers is a real estate agent. He was like, hey, Darlene, like you really should go take a look at some like a brick and mortar. I didn't know what it was called at the time. Take a look at a restaurant and see. I'm like, well, I can't afford that. He was like, well, there's restaurants that's already built. You should just see if there's any landlords looking for restaurants. So lo and behold, I searched and searched, couldn't find any. Finally found one, and that's the restaurant we're in right now. I don't know if you can get a good look. Uh,
Oh man,
Proud of-
that's awesome.
So we found this restaurant
Congratulations.
in found this restaurant in November of 2014,
Okay.
right? The one I'm in right now. Um, we found it. I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna get this money from. I don't know where I'm gonna get this money from, but there's something about this place. Like when I came in here, I knew it was mine. I don't know what it was, but I was like, where am
Just
I
felt
gonna
that
get?
way. Just felt
I
right.
felt it. I'm like, I don't know where
Mm.
I'm gonna get this money from. I don't know where I'm gonna get this money from. So that job that laid me off gave me a call me back. Hey, Darlene, the union fought really hard. They got your job back and they had to give you all this money. With no BS. They had to give you
They
all
just called.
the,
Wow.
they had to give you all this money plus subtract any unemployment you received, blah blah blah. So they handed me a check for like $75,000. No bullshit, like no BS, no like. But they were known for that. Like they're known for firing people and bringing them back, firing people, bringing them back. You
Right.
know, so they handed me that check. I got all my vacation time back. Remind you, now it's 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years. I'm fired, laid off. So I got
Right.
all my vacation. I already had 8 years with them. So I had like about 30 days of vacation days. So they had given me the 30 days per vacation year for 2 years. So they had to give me all my vacation days back. Any sick time I accrued, anything I accrued, they had to give me back. So I went back to work, but took this time to build this restaurant. So found this place November 2015. I
Yeah.
got the call from the telecommunication company
Yeah.
in January of 2015. Put money down for this place in February, right? Use all that vacation time, start building it, going back to work 2 days, taking 4 days off, going back to work, taking 4 days off, go back to work, taking 4 days off. Built an entire restaurant. Don't know how I did it. Didn't even know how to really hire people because I never really worked in a restaurant industry besides McDonald's growing up
Right.
and like Baines Deli and like a one other place. So never really had that culinary experience. Like I would have wanted to like dreams of going to Paris and learning from like top chefs. Like those things were like
Yeah.
dreams growing up. You know what I mean? But I guess the divine, he had another way to make those
Absolutely.
dreams into fruition. And
Fruition.
now I
Yeah.
have like culinary graduates that work for me, which blows my mind sometimes. Like one of my top chefs, she worked at my other store. She traveled, she cooked in Europe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, it still blows my mind. And I do see the strength that I have versus what they have. Like book smarts are really keen and very important because I do wish I had those because then I would be able to channel what I know a little
You
bit
can
more.
always go back to school though.
Absolutely, but I feel like I could teach the class now. So that's what
There you go.
that's what's a little bit different because I cook really from
You
myself.
have the skills that are tough to teach. You
I
know what I
I I,
mean?
I I believe that because it's I marry flavors. Like I really now not for nothing. I do buy books. Like I bought the Flavor Bible, finished that. So I understand culinary. I understand how to thicken something. I understand alternatives. Like it's more of it's life for me. Like food
Yeah.
is a culture, is a life for me. And then I get to
It's
employ
art. It's art, right? I mean,
yes,
it's a way for you to create. It's a way for you
create
to express yourself.
and employ. Like I have 18 employees. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
That's like it still blows my mind to this day. Now, obviously, when I payroll drives me crazy, but every once in a while, but it's I have 18 employees, and out of 18, I have at least maybe 8 of them are full time. You know what I mean?
Great.
3 of them are on salary. Like it's like that's like dreams. I still can't believe it to this day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
I'm very
absolutely. And
today.
it's stories like yours that I would, so I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, and the reason why I wanted to start this show is because I would listen to, stories like yours and other people's, and I'm just like, wow, like this isn't the end for me. You know what I mean? I can build back
Hell
my life,
yeah.
and yeah, yeah.
Hell yeah.
That hell yeah. That's what I said to myself. I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna just let this get me down. I can
No.
slowly but surely get my life back. And I wanted to I wanted to talk to, like, I just wanted to talk to everybody that had been through some sort of struggle, you know, because there's an overwhelming amount of gratitude that I can hear in your voice, you know, when you talk about this and the faith, you know, because when I saw you on Good Morning America, you were like kind of teared up, you know, and that emotion was so genuine. I love to be surrounded by those types of people, you know, like those people that are real, you know, there's no bullshit right here. You know what I mean? Like, this is who you are. This is
Yeah.
what's happened to you. You know, and this is where you're going, you know, and I have to, I would have to talk about your faith, you know. Is that something that you're like really devoted to?
Oh
Like, do you have
yes.
like a practice in God, or is
I'm
it just like,
spi- I'm naturally spiritual. Like
I'm with you? Okay.
my dad was a pastor, but
Okay.
I didn't choose that role. He was a
I'm with you. I was raised Irish Catholic. I didn't
yeah.
really go
I
that
didn't
way
choose that
either.
road. I didn't choose that way. So spirituality is super important to me. Like I'm extremely centered in here in my core first, and
Hmm.
I do everything from inward, and then it comes out.
Absolutely.
I don't do anything that comes out and comes in because I don't even know if you understand like the chakras. But if you don't understand like how to center your energy, you're gonna keep getting light beams, but it's gonna make the decision for you. But if you know how to, when you getting all that jolts of energy, if you know how to divinely push it to whatever you need, more things would happen for you and things around you.
Right.
So like my spirituality is the divine love that I have for everybody I run across, like trees, animals, everything. Like that's where it comes from first. It centers with me in here, and then I share it with everybody else. And then
That's
through
it.
that, good things happen. Like
Hell yeah.
I don't force it.
Yeah.
Like I don't force anything. Whatever
Yeah.
is going to happen is going to happen. You know what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
live by that code. I have to. And I don't pay attention to like, yes, there's a big giant pandemic going on.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm following every safety guideline that's regulated, but I'm not paying attention to it because that's not my reality. Because
I'm with you. So like, sometimes I come off as ignorant because I'm not like so involved in the news, and like people come into the restaurant and I'm like, listen, man, I'm here today. We're serving food today. I don't know if we're getting shut down. So why don't we just, you
exactly,
know,
exactly,
why don't we enjoy the food today and have it, you know, and your experience here at the cafe, and that's it, you know?
absolutely, you got to be centered and like you just can't get too caught up in what's going on in the outside world. You have to. If I'm stuck on what's going on outside, how can I concentrate on everything else? Everything can fall apart if my concentration leaves and go there. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
then at this point, I have 18 people I have to make sure that are safe. Some of them have families, children. They need this in order
Yeah.
to work. So I all my thought, my process, my emotion comes from that. Like,
Yes. Yep.
um, so I do believe that there is somebody that might control us some degree, but I feel like the God kind of like lives within us.
Absolutely.
Us
I'm
as
with you.
creators, He gave us His same strength, right?
Right.
So we can utilize those same strength that He gave us, as long as you have good reason,
Yeah.
give back to the world as much as you
Yep.
can. Like
Yes.
we are all. This is my belief. I believe we all are born here and we have a purpose. Like we signed a contract to do
Hmm.
something while during this time. You know what I mean? I really believe that. So since I have that belief, although it could be like imaginary, but it's
Hmm.
still mine. I
Right.
have that belief. I lock on that belief, and I stay there. Like I'm not. This is not. I don't do this. I'm not the face just for me, for Darlene. I'm the face for every little girl that lives around this neighborhood, especially in a community where my stores are. Everybody looks like me around there.
Hmm.
Everybody looks like me. And so with that being said, like it's really important for them to see someone like me in a leadership role, so they can understand that they can do it too. These things are what keep me going when the going gets tough. They in that interview on Good Morning America, they cut out that because they asked me one question. They said, "What was the reason what gave you the strength to open? Like, because at one point I kind of like split second I quit. Split second. It didn't last long because I've never been a quitter, but
Right.
split second I quit. But then I received a phone call from a church, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
This church is called the Church of Christian Compassion.
Okay.
It's not my church. It's a church that my mom goes to, but it's a huge church. They have over 5,000 members. They called me randomly. Hey, Darlene, we're doing a thing called Compassion with Compassion, and we would like to try your new restaurant. Are you open yet? I was like, I'm not open yet because of COVID. I was like, oh, well, when do you plan on opening? I was like, well, how many members do you have? Like 30, 40? They said, no, 5,000. So they did this big giant church announcement, and I did a special opening, which wanted to be in my soft opening, just for that church. We were swamped. I had to hurry up and hire like 10 people really quick
Mm-hmm.
to make it happen. Like the good thing about it is I already had like online ordering set up at my new
Right.
store.
Okay.
So the on port, no, actually I have it now. Online ordering wasn't even working at that time, but it was like an on pour of business on that first day from that, and that made me create a grand opening, like
Okay.
that call from that
Right.
church. So there is some kind of spirituality there, like God did use, or spirituality, he used that church
Yeah.
to do something to me, to wake me up, to get me back in that momentum of doing what I set to
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
I'm extremely humble. Even how I live now, I'm extremely humble. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
until I'm comfortable, and let's say the people who've been around me for a while, like people who work for me and been around me for a while, until they're extremely comfortable, I'm not gonna move or make a different lifestyle change until a few more people is comfortable around me. Because I feel like as a leader, in order for me to keep growing and growing and growing, I gotta pull you with me. A
Yeah.
few people with me, especially if you've been there, worked for me for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Only been here for
Yes.
5 years. You've been here for 4 years with me. As I'm growing and pulling in, you
Yeah. The
kind of
reason why
go.
you are is because of their help. Absolutely.
Yes. So I'm
Yeah.
pulling you with me, whether you don't like it or not. Like I
Mhm.
get some fights. Like one of my chefs, I made him do like a Top Chef kind of thing.
Right.
He didn't like it, but I'm like, you got to put yourself out there. You never been out there. You worked for all these big labels before. Get out yourself out there. I got other chefs. I'm doing that too now. The one that traveled, that she went to studied in Europe. I'm
Yeah.
like, you spent all this time in your studies. I'm going to make sure I put you out there a little bit more.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
those things are important to me. Like I plan on having a big giant photo shoot, and not only me as the center of attention, these chefs, women and men
Yes.
that's working with me, for them to be center of attention. Like I want them to have their own story in the book as well, so they can see, hey, I brought this
We
strength to
all
that
grow
brand.
together.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like I have like these weird dreams and missions, and I pray they all get to, I see them all through.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Because I spend a lot of time like wondering, what's my purpose in
hmm
life? And I would like kind of wrestle with that thought the whole like for a long time. I was like, this is like I felt useless, you know what I mean? And then, somebody kind of pointed out that my purpose, and what you kind of in a roundabout way said, your purpose is to help other people.
yeah.
And that has been the foundation of me putting my life back together. Because
Congratulations.
when I'm like thinking about like what am I going to do all the time, I'm constantly obsessing and blocking myself off from like what can really be, but when I'm out there and I'm trying to help other people, it's easier to move, you know what I mean? It's easier to reach out and
Absolutely.
make that call and even ask for help, you know what I mean? Like when you're building something, you have to ask for help. You can't do it all on your own. There's another level of humility, right? You have to park that ego and say, listen, I need some help in doing this. I know that this is what I'm trying to do, but there's an area of this that I'm just not strong in, and can you help? With everything that's going on with the pandemic, politics. We talked a little bit about and the civil unrest. I just want to say that like it's beautiful to see you like working like and 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 putting yourself out there and like being, you know, almost like a beacon of light, you know?
Oh, thank
It
you.
it
It's
is
big compliment. Thank you.
I when I saw like I just love that like you have compassion for people. It seems like white, black, doesn't matter,
Nope.
that you just love all people, and I think that I'm the same way, and I don't really care what color you are or what you believe in. You know what I mean? Like if you're a good person, then you're a good person. And those are the people I surround myself with today. And so you know, I I want to ask you, like, what would be your message to people today? Like, what's your message right now for
You
2020?
know what's crazy? The message already popped in my head before you said it. And I'm like, wow. I was, as you were talking, I was answering the question. It's weird. Spirituality does that sometimes. So
Hmm.
the message that I would say for that reason is like, God is leaving, but I'm trying to bring it back.
That's all right.
It's a big message. That's why it's a big message. You can't, oh, it, it's so big. I have to get it out. So I'm going to force it out.
It's all right.
Hmm. Ask the question again. Hopefully it comes back.
So so what's your message despite all of or amidst all the all the the racism and the pandemic and the
Got
crazy
it.
political platform, what's your message to people in 2020?
Got it. In order to win this war against the pandemic, against everything, first thing you have to do is clear this. Clear this, get it out. Focus on universal love for
Mm,
everything, for everybody you come across. Be kind to people. Think about their life situation. Like put yourself in their situation. Every time I look at somebody and I look in their eyes, I just look in their eyes and I say, like, you are me. You just live in a different life at this point. So if you have that thought process with everybody you come encounter to, you'll think of them as how you want to be treated because they're a reflection of you as well. Like you are you're on the other side right now. You are Darren, you are like my reflection as well. You know what I
mm,
mean? You just live in a different reality than I am. If people understand that we are all one.
true.
And you're here for a guided reason. I think we all would come together. So focus on universal love for everybody you come across because that's you.
That's it. That's
You know what
it.
I mean? That's
Yeah,
it.
I know. And I love to hear that say. And like I said earlier in the show, I really like love to connect with people, that are living that way, and you are a prime example, for
Oh,
women, white, black, it's
everybody.
it's just everybody, and it's a really beautiful thing. I mean, from McDonald's to entrepreneur, right, and everything in between. It's like, you like you said, you almost gave up, and
Yes.
there's been plenty of times where I've wanted to give up,
Don't
and
do
it's
it.
been, the people I surround myself with, my faith, that helped me move through, and thank you for your time today.
No,
I
thank you.
really appreciate it. You're
Thank
a
you for
wonderful
having me.
person,
I'm
and I'm
grateful.
coming out to your store once.
Please
There's
do.
there's some restrictions for people from Jersey, like people coming into Philly or
For a
into
little
into
while.
Pennsylvania for a little while. So I will for sure be out there. And if you're ever in Jersey, I'm in Monmouth County, and you should come into the cafe. Have you ever had pork roll before?
I would know,
Taylor
but I
ham?
would love to try it.
Taylor ham? Never heard of it?
I would love to try it.
Oh yeah, yeah. We have the
What's the
best
name of the cafe?
capsize cafe.
Capsize Cafe.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited. I'm gonna look you
I've been
up.
working for my friends they've been open for 5 years now, and it's a big family place. It's nothing but love. It's
Oh
a
wow,
yeah.
that's
Everybody's happy,
awesome.
babe. Everybody's having babies. It's a good place to live. Very,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
really cool. Really cool.
Good. Congratulations. It was a pleasure talking to you this morning.
Yes, it was great talking to you, and I'll be in touch, and I'll send